Welcome to another AAPC Social Hour. It is August 13th, 2025, and I hope we're live. Oh, it looks like we are live.
Yep.
And we're back with my buddy Dave Kaiser, who is back from illness.
Yeah, I was a bit under the weather 2 weeks ago, and it took me almost 2 weeks to feel a little bit better. So I'm here and I'm excited.
Summer colds are the worst.
It was weird,
Yeah.
but it was a big temperature change. I think it went from really, really hot to really pretty cold where I went, where I was kind of camping. And so I think it was just the drastic change that kind of got me. But
Yeah. Well, we're glad you're better, and we're glad you're with us, Dave. It's not the same without you. We have Claire with us today. Claire Stevenson, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. How about you?
I am great. So, and as our viewers know, Claire works for AAPC. We're going to talk a little bit about some changes coming to ICD-10-PCS codes. But Claire, before we went live, you were just sharing about a little trip that you just returned from.
Yes, I did. And there was definitely some drastic temperature changes where I was at too. So I'm glad that I didn't catch that cold. But I went down to the Grand Canyon, and that was amazing. I did see you. I was on the South Rim, and they have catch that fire on the North Rim. So unfortunately, I could see that.
Uh-oh.
that was me.
So that was, I mean, it was, my husband is a amateur photographer, and so he got some really cool pictures of it, but it's kind of like, bittersweet because it's a sad situation. But and then we went around to Antelope Canyon. I don't know if either of you are familiar with that, but I would definitely recommend it. It's really super cool. Over in Page, Arizona. You have to take a tour, but you like walk down into the canyon, and it's all these sandstone structures and like sweeping red rock everywhere. It's amazing. I would definitely recommend checking that out. And then we ended up in Vegas for a few days. So yeah,
It sounds like a great trip.
it was fantastic.
That's a fun trip. That was my old stomping grounds all around like the southern Utah area, northern Arizona,
Right?
around Vegas. Yeah. I camped on BLM land there for a while,
Oh,
for
nice.
several months, just out in the desert where you could just go out anywhere and yeah,
That
it's pretty
sounds
great out there.
amazing. Amazing.
One of
Yeah,
my
when the temperature's right, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, well, I actually like hot temperature, so I was like, yay, 110, woo! But
on my bucket list is the rim to rim hike.
me too.
And I hear so many great things about that. Just to be in the Grand Canyon, just taking it all in for a day. That'd be amazing.
I agree. That's also on my bucket list. I've only ever just stood on the rim. I've never gone through and across. So
Yeah. Dave, have you done the rim to
No,
rim?
I've never gone in. Yeah, well, I've only seen both sides of it, the north rim and south rim, but that's it.
Okay. And let's just address this right now, Dave, because we talked about the beard before we went live. And you're embracing your mountain life to the max.
I'm trying to just live as natural as possible, and it's really hard to do in the day and age that we're in with all the technology, and we're just bathed in electromagnetic waves and stuff from all different sources. So in certain ways, I'm just trying to experiment and let things just be as natural as possible. So
Okay. All
it's
right.
fun. And I'll be Santa for if we do a conference in December.
There you go.
I'll be Santa.
That's right. We'll get
That's my
you in for the company party, and you can be the Santa for the staff's kids.
love it.
Yeah. Well, guys, we have an awesome lineup today. So, of course, we talked about Claire, and we'll get right into the PCS codes in just a minute. But we also have a panel from the NAB, kind of continuing our series on helping our new coders get traction in the field by getting a job or preparing the resumes. All of these different topics we've talked about a few in the past few broadcasts. today we have a panel coming in to talk about multiple ways and pathways to remove your apprentice designation. So if you're watching, if you're a current student or a recently certified student looking to remove that apprentice designation, you'll want to catch this. On our in our chat is Amber Simon, who I think this is her chapter on the cover. Amber, would you tell me if that's correct? I'm looking in here and or I think you guys are featured in here for sure, because you guys had a great Mania meeting. So just
Amber, what's your chapter? Do
yeah,
you know what chapter it is, Alex?
I don't off the top of my head. I should know, but I don't off the top of my head. But oh, there we go. She's in there. Can you say that, Dave?
Yeah, Telequa.
Ooh,
Telequa,
you got it.
I think.
Perfect. Yeah. So yeah, just so many amazing chapters who did great things during May Mania. And there's, if you have your magazine, just check that out. There's awesome pictures and
Yeah,
it might inspire your chapter.
Amber says she's the one in the Big Price is Right wheel.
The Big
So
Price is Right, Will.
yeah, she's, I guess, in the picture in the Big Price is Right wheel.
Oh,
Look for kind of a where's Amber scenario.
right there.
Nice.
There's Amber.
Oh yeah, there. Cool. That's so cool.
Awesome. Hey, that could be a great Halloween costume too.
Would be.
Well,
that's actually really awesome. Like spinning.
Yeah, and then like whatever she could have a little segment for each kind of candy she has.
There
Right?
you go.
Whoa.
Oh,
Whatever it
wow.
lands on. Yeah.
I think you should patent that, Alex. That's amazing.
There you go. There you go. That's what we're gonna do today is figure out everyone's Halloween costumes
There you go.
For October. Well, Claire, PCS codes are no joke. And
No.
I don't think I think there are many veteran coders who they don't spend a lot of time in PCS codes. But can you tell us about, because we know about ICD-10 codes,
Mhm.
what's the big difference and why may there be many coders who don't dip their toe into PCS?
So the ICD-10-PCS code set is what is used for procedural coding for inpatient facility. So instead of CPT, like the pro fee side, we're looking at the ICD-10-PCS to capture all of those procedures for the inpatient facility. So that's kind of where that divide is. There are a lot of coders who are very specialized. They either are pro-fee coders or they are facility coders. Now, there is a group of people who can do both, and that's fantastic. But that's really where you see the big difference is that there aren't, I think my experience anyways is that with AAPC, there's a higher concentration of pro-fee coders than facility coders, but that facility coder AAPC population is really picking up, and I think that's fantastic.
Did you spend a lot of time in your career as a facility coder? Is that how you learned so much about PCS coding?
Actually, I did not. I started as a pro-fee coder. I started pro-fee surgical and clinical coder. And then I got a new job at a hospital. And it kind of a funny story. It was a brand new coding department. They were very, very small. They were just building up. They were bringing it back from outsourcing. And they needed a supervisor. And so I was like, sure, threw my hat in the ring, even though I had no idea how to code facility. And I ended up getting the job and basically was told by the facility coders, well, how are you going to manage me if you don't know how to code what I'm doing? And I said, that's a fantastic point. And so I learned.
Well, I want, before or after we talk about the upcoming 2026 PCS code changes, I want to go back to what it might be like for a inpatient coder to make that transition. So, but let's kick this off with what should our coders know, our coders know about PCS codes in 2026?
So the majority of the changes that that happened were in the new technology section. So the new technology section is just like it sounds. It's new technology. And they are, I don't want to say temporary codes because they're not, I mean, the idea is that once a new technology has been established, if it's being used, if it's been decided that it's clinically relevant and it needs to be incorporated into the regular medical surgical tables, then that new technology code will disappear and that procedure will then be coded in the regular tables. So kind of sort of a temporary situation, but that's where most of those changes happened is, in fact, all of the deleted codes for 2026 are taken out of the new technology section, and the majority of those have been incorporated into the regular tables. And then, of course, there are some other new additions to the regular tables to capture procedures that they're like procedures that have already been established. They just didn't have a way to code them. For example, so when you get like the aortic aneurysm and they do a graft in there to repair the aortic aneurysm, sometimes those grafts can get leaks. And so they go in and they put anchors in to kind of seal up the leak in there. And that's been a thing forever. In fact, I used to be a cardiovascular coder like a decade ago, and that was a pretty standard procedure, but there was no way to capture that in PCS codes until 2026. So.
Okay. So there are situations that a coder may not know how to manage that.
Right.
And like the code set just kind of catches up in time.
Exactly. The people who either are behind these medical devices or, behind the procedures, they perform these procedures, they can petition CMS to add codes to the code set to capture these procedures. And so it goes to the committee, and then everybody gives feedback on whether it's they believe it's a valid code that needs to be added or not and why. And that's how these codes come to be.
All right. Well, for those who are just joining us, we have Claire Stevenson on from the AAPC National Office. We're reviewing her article in the August AAPC magazine, page 18, fiscal year 2026 ICD-10-PCS in review. So we're kind of just going over some of the changes that she might think might be interesting to you. And we talked about new technology and then some updates that catch coding up to what issues that have been happening in the clinical side. Anything else that you think coders should be aware of, Claire?
Well, there were not any major changes to the PCS guidelines. So that is, something to be aware of, that you don't have to worry about, anything changing there. But no, it's just going to be becoming familiar with what these changes are and what is going to be separately coded because of them. And definitely being aware of new technology, because that can be very important. If your facility performs those procedures, they could be procedures that get extra payment from CMS. And you have to make sure you use that right PCS code in order to capture that additional payment.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Dave, do we have any PCS coders watching?
I don't know. I threw that out there in the chat and I haven't seen anything yet. Although
Okay.
Amidi did comment saying she needs or he needs a virtual medical billing assistant job. So if anybody's watching, also Lamidi, you can check out the AAPC job board as well. That may have some listings like that.
Awesome.
But if anybody's on the chat and has any openings or whatever, go ahead and
Yep.
throw them out there. That's
Yep. Network,
always
right?
wanting to network. Yeah.
I love it. Dave, I just teamed you the link to Claire's webinar. If you have a second, maybe
Yeah,
drop
let's throw
that
that in
in.
there.
And
Sure.
Claire, tell us a little bit about the webinar that you have coming up that covers more in depth what we've talked about.
Right. So we are going to go over more in depth the different changes to the codes that are coming, as well as changes to the DRGs for 2026 and the IPPS final rule, and any major information that needs to be shared from the final rule concerning DRGs and PCS codes. We will be covering all of that much more in depth than in the article.
Okay, awesome. So check out that article, page 18 of the August AAPC magazine. And Claire, so we talked a little bit at the beginning about how you started as a profi coder.
Correct.
And what's the appeal, or what could the appeal be to jumping to inpatient? Because you have to learn this PCS code set, which may be foreign to some coders. Is it more lucrative? Is it more interesting? Tell us a little bit.
I believe that, yeah, it could be more lucrative. I have seen job postings where, you know, it looks like maybe a facility coder might earn a little bit more, potentially. For me, and I figure probably a large population of the coding community, we all like to learn, right? We all tend to amass these certifications because we just want to keep expanding our knowledge base, and learning the facility side of things will obviously accomplish that. But it just really helps you understand and be a more well-rounded coder. There are plenty of times where a profi coder actually needs to converse with the facility coder. If you're coding a surgery, and you know, maybe the facility coder submitted something to the insurance and it doesn't match what the profi coder did, and they might have to talk about it. They might have to work it out. So it really helps to have that, you know, 360 understanding of what these procedures, how they're coded, you know, what they look like, how they're coded. What's important to know for the facility side coding is, you know, similar, but not completely the same as what you need to know to code the profi side. So it really just helps that understanding. For me, PCS is, once you learn it, it is a little scary. It's like an entirely different language, but once you learn it and you understand how these codes are built, the logic is what really appeals to me. It's a very logical code set, and you are building the codes to match what the procedure is.
Okay.
So it's a logical structure that you can follow and repeat. And once you know the structure, you can build more. Yeah.
Exactly.
There was a comment in the chat from Amber. She said she was a CPCA and she just purchased her 2026 PCS book. Just because I'm interested in this area being a new coder, what would you suggest learning first in the PCS book?
Great question.
Not for Alex. That one's for you, Claire.
Yeah.
So
I'd ruin Amber's career.
I would say, just like I would actually say the same thing for all of the books. Start with the guidelines. The guidelines are going to be what is going to help you really understand and start to wrap your mind around how that code set works.
Guidelines. Cool. And you said no guideline changes this year. So PCS is basically done. Everything's out. The codes
are out. You can go and take a look at the changes. Yep. And everything is out for everybody to take a look at. It is a lot to look at. So in our webinar, we are going to kind of condense and explain so you don't have to sit there and research and figure it out on your own.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
What about the other code sets? Where do you, I mean, can you kind of give us an idea of where we're at as far as codes being released and all that? Because they kind of stagger, right?
They typically do, yeah, but this year was really weird because they actually released ICD-10-CM and PCS at the same time, which is not normally how it's done. Usually we would have to wait a little bit longer for CM, but that is already out. So people can go ahead and take a look at those changes as well. CPT changes have not come out yet. Those don't go into effect until January 1st as opposed to October. So gotta wait just a little bit longer for that.
Cool.
HCPCS is similar, isn't it?
Yes,
It's
same.
later. Okay.
Mhm.
And I gather that this over the years, I feel like HCPC seems to get minimal changes.
Yeah, HCPS is, a lot of it is facility coding. There is some Profi in there, of course, but HCPS is used a lot for facility coding for capturing like implants and what they're putting into a person during a surgery, or procedures that maybe don't have their own CPT code. Sometimes you can find a HCPCS code for that. But there typically aren't massive changes. Probably doesn't come into uh, the main view because it is so facility sided that the CPT codes is not really going to affect Profi coding all that much.
Okay. And I believe those books ship, the ICD-10 books ship in September next month or so, if I recall right.
That sounds
And,
right. I
yeah.
think. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah. And then those codes for ICD-10 anyways go into effect October 1st.
Correct.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, Claire, will you be in San Diego for
I will
HealthCon
not.
Regional?
I will not
Okay.
be in San Diego.
All right.
I wish I was, but nope, not this time.
All right. Well, we'll catch you in person again in Dallas.
Right,
I'm
I'm
sure.
hoping for Dallas. Yep.
Cool.
Putting
Okay.
in my for my webinar for my presentation. Yeah.
All right. Are you allowed to give a little hint of what you'd like to present on?
I am still considering. Otherwise, I would.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, it's a big. We'll have a unveiling broadcast where Claire shares what
Perfect.
she.
Yes.
Yes. All
Will
right, Claire.
do. Yep.
Thanks so much for being with us,
Yeah, thanks for having me.
and we'll see you next time.
All
Cheers,
right, thanks,
Claire.
guys. Bye.
All right. Well, now for our viewers, if you're a student or a newly certified CPCA, you'll want to hang around because we have a panel coming in right now to talk about how to remove your apprentice status. Dave, what have you been up to up in Northern California? How to remove your
Well, I actually just got done with a full moon event. We had 8/8. We had this, it's a big like cosmic Lionsgate portal time. But the very next night on Saturday was the full moon. And in the summertime on the full moons, I help basically cater and give away a bunch of free vegan food to everybody who comes up on the mountain. And last weekend's event was huge. We had hundreds of people up there waiting in line on top of the mountain, waiting to get all this, just free food. It was really cool. Had a big bonfire and a drum circle and stuff like that. So that was the most recent thing that I've been up to that was kind of fun and exciting, I guess, a little
I
bit.
think Denny, Corella, and Maya and I need to just like do a sneak attack next time you do have a free meal event up on the mountain. We'll hike up the mountain, eat and hang out
Yes.
with you.
Oh, I
Yeah.
would love to see your familiar faces up there. That'd be so cool. But yeah,
You
it's
know,
a
and I
really
used to
cool
be
event.
vegan, Dave. I used to be
Oh,
vegan
nice.
for 2 years after I had my bariatric surgery. For those of you who don't know, I was once 350 pounds. I'm much less than now. I'm half of that. And I became vegan. And I made some really cool vegan dishes. And I also followed Tabitha Brown with some of her dishes. So I'm very, very familiar with being a vegan and some of the limitations that may occur if you don't are vegan and you don't have those options. So very cool.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, there's so much good stuff. Well, how are all of you?
Good.
Yeah,
We're
back again.
Back again.
good. We're carnivores, but we're good.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. Amen, Corella.
We.
Oh boy. Well, it's so good to see you guys. And there's always so much to talk about. And Dave knows this because he's always making videos and helping. We're always constantly at the national office trying to make the path smoother for our students and for those who have recently been certified and creating that path to that first job and that career they dream of. And I know Corella with the Project Extern, she's always hitting it hard trying to open up new opportunities all over the country for for those folks. How's that work going, Corella?
We are trudging along. I wanted to actually, during our discussion today, I want to talk about some of the things that all of us, these ladies as well, is helping to support those programs as we are just brainstorming and trying to think outside the box to get our newly certified coders and get people that, just are struggling just to get their foot in the field. That's probably the hardest part. Once you pass everything, which is hard in itself, once you go through all the certification exams and you finally have that credential, we've been talking about other things that you can do to kind of get your foot into this industry. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today and kind of what this series has kind of been about. If anyone has been joining in during these social hours, talking about success stories and talking about no job too small and all of the other things that you can do with your CPCA besides coding. People always think, oh, I got to get a coding job. And there are so many other opportunities that can lead to not the give away the dream of having that coding job, but can lead you closer or faster to those coding positions. And so that's kind of what we're going to continue today, just to talk about all of the things that you can do to, just get your career going and get your foot in the door. And today's topic, as you know, is, getting that apprentice removed, which is somewhat a barrier sometimes with our newly certified. They get this, shiny new credential, but it has that A on the end of it. And, and some people feel kind of trapped with the A on the end. And so we're going to talk today about some of the ways you can get that removed, why it's there, and in the first place, and how you can get it removed.
Let's start with that, Corella. So why is, as a group of professionals, the three of you, why is the apprentice designation important? Why not just certify right into the CPC without an A? Thoughts from, let's start with Maya. Maya, what do you think?
I was very safe. Oh,
Okay. I've been voluntold again, Corella. I love Corella. I just love her. Her spirit is just so genuine. But I was just going to say that a lot of times when you're dealing with certification, the A is designated because there's not experience in the healthcare field and you are awarded an apprentice. But a lot of times when those questions are asked and you're getting ready to take the exam, a lot of times the coder who has hands-on experience with claims and or CPT or ICD-10 codes, they don't know that they can utilize that. And as I have had this conversation, if you're dealing with any type of coding realm where it's dealing with revenue cycle management as a whole, and the questionnaire asks you, have you ever coded? Again, this is not restrictive to coding jobs. It's specific to the experience with working with ICD-10. I was going to say ICD-9, that dates me. ICD-10 and CPT coding. And so a lot of times they don't know this. So and the A designation is really related to the experience in the revenue cycle management. But if you've had a hand on it specifically and worked in any of the areas that has dealt with revenue cycle, whether it be denials, ICD-10, or even pulling records because you see the denials to work those claims, then you shouldn't have the apprentice if you've had a significant amount of time to validate those types of job duties that you have. And I think that's a really good point to bring forward because a lot of times people don't know that it's not just related to coding. It's anything that's related to the revenue cycle as a whole.
Mhm.
Love it. Denny, do you have any thoughts?
People always ask me, and my answer is always the same, similar is, do you want to see the doctor that's just graduated med school, or do you want to see the doctor that's gone through their residency? It's kind of the same thing. You know your book knowledge, but have you taken it out for a test drive yet? Have you had that hands-on experience with somebody that's standing next to you ready to catch when you're asked a question that you don't know how to answer? You don't know how to field it. Where in the book, what's another term that I can use to start looking for it? You need that side-by-side help yet. You know, you've got some great knowledge, but let's use it a little bit and try it out. So that's really what that A is saying is I have some great knowledge, but I need to test it a little bit yet.
Mhm.
So it's not a downfall, it's just I need some help.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I like that.
I
I
like
like
that. And just to piggyback off of that, and what Maya and Denny is saying is that, um, you know, I am dated. So, of course, when I took my CPC exam, there was no A. But you had to have 2 years of experience to the door
Yeah.
before you can even sit for the exam.
Yep.
Back when I took my exam. And so that you already had to have that exposure to coding and to codes because, of course, I've been around for a long time. We didn't have schools back then, we learned on the job. So that captured all of that job experience that you
Mhm.
already had in assigning codes and reading records and you got to know medical terminology and anatomy and physiology and all of those things. And so you had to have that already. And so that limited the pool of people that could even get certified in coding because, again, you already had to have those 2 years to the door before you could even sit for the exam.
Test was 150
Yes,
questions in 5 hours
yes,
20 years ago.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And so you had to know what you know,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. And so we now have schools that teach medical billing, coding, and the like. We have a whole bunch of training. AAPC offers the VILT program, which is wonderful. So does a number of colleges and universities that offer the AAPC curriculums. And so now that we have all of this training available, this kind of brought about the A where you have, like Denny said, that foundation. You have that foundational training, and you've taken that very hard exam. But like Denny said, you haven't taken it out for a test drive yet.
Mhm.
Haven't really shown the competency of being a full-fledged CPC. Again, still going back to the premise of having those 2 years of experience working with codes to get that full credential. And so that's kind of where the A comes in. Again, like Denny said, you want them right out of medical school, you want them to have done a residency where they put it into practical application, um, and the like. And a lot of coders, and I'll say this, like to get into our field because, as you know, we're like 80% virtual as far as our job settings are concerned. Not me, but our job settings are concerned. So mostly 80% virtual. And so that's another thing for employers to expect you to be able to work alone autonomously assigning codes. You have had, they want full-fledged CPCs usually for those roles because they need people that have put that practical foundational education into full application.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and we do see some CPCAs get hired,
Oh yeah,
but
Absolutely.
it is more difficult. Corella, let's talk about that path to
yes,
removing the apprentice designation. There are several paths.
there are several paths.
Take us down the yellow brick road.
Well, Maya went into one of the paths, as that is something that a lot of people don't know. If you've already been exposed to coding, maybe you aren't assigning them per se, but you're working with codes, billing with codes, have a clear understanding of code use um, and how codes are used, how they're reimbursed, adjudicated, how they're assigned. If you have a good working knowledge of coding already, you can already, when you apply for your certification exam, demonstrate that working knowledge. And when you sit for the exam, you automatically get the full credential. You can bypass the entire apprentice experience, if you will,
Right.
of already attesting that you already have had that exposure to coding. But again, there's other avenues. As you know, we have Practicode. I don't know if you ladies have done Practicode, but Practicode, of course, is the actual practical application of assigning codes to actual real records. They use redacted records from multi specialties, operative reports, and the like. And you have to demonstrate proficiency in knowing how to assign codes. That's not a multiple choice. It's not a multiple choice world, as our exams are usually based. So you actually have to show that practical application. Now, along with your year of schooling that you get credit for going through an AAPC curriculum, with that and with successfully completing the Practicode application, I think it's like 300 records or so of, again, different multi-specialties, evaluation and management, operative reports, the like that you kind of exposed to, and you can show proficiency and knowledge in being able to assign codes correctly there. Bing! You get
Yep.
the A removed,
Yep.
you know?
I love it.
So that's yet one avenue that people can take, that's already available for everybody to utilize and sign up for and use. And quite a few people already are doing that. We have several people that are already in the process of completing that Practicode program, if you will, so they can get the A removed. So that's a wonderful thing. So you got the on the job that you've already been exposed, you got Practicode, and then you have Project Extern, the externships.
Okay.
And yes, so these ladies can talk about, of course, Project Externship and the work that we're doing in Project Externship as we try to quantify actually more sites to get them approved so that when the CPCA completes their apprenticeship hours, the A can automatically be removed there. So, ladies, let's talk a little bit about that.
I did want to add that in addition to Corella's phenomenal summation, I think we also need to quantify that in the amount of hours that are required.
Yes.
And the hours, from what I understand at Corella, keep me honest, is 160 hours.
Yes.
And that letter from an employer, once you have been employed with the A, they have to attest that you have made 160 hours. So let's break this down. If you're working full time, right? You're working full time, you typically do 40 hours a week, 37 and a half, 40 hours a week. So you multiply that times 4. How many hours is that, folks? That's 160 hours, right?
Month.
Okay, wait a minute, hold on. 40, 80. So you have to think about the amount of hours that you're spending. So remember, if you know yourself to be working full time and you know that you have a good rapport with your employer, to get the A removed, I mean, some people, may not be working really well, right? They might look at your clocked hours if you're working remote, right? Because remote is be careful what you ask for remote work because it's not for everybody. But 160 hours is about a month worth of work. But still, you have to have that validated letter from the employer. And I believe when you complete Practicode, it accounts for half of that, if I'm not mistaken. But then the other half needs to come from an employer when you're working on the job. So I think that's very important to bring
Yeah, well,
forward.
when a practical gives that automatically gives that 1 year of experience, and provided the person came through an AAPC curriculum, either through the VILT program or at a college or university that has the AAPC curriculum, that counts as a year. So that then becomes your 2 years of
Mhm.
experience for your A removal.
Hey, Dave, are there any comments from our viewers about how they remove their apprentice designation or anything helpful?
Yeah, there is. In fact, I was asking if there were any CPCAs in the chat, and a few people responded. Alexis Procetta said that she got her A removed as quickly as possible. And I was like, I asked her what steps she took, and she said she had proof of the needed amount of time, had a letter of request signed by the coding trainer and her supervisor. So simple ways to do it if you already have some experience. So,
Yeah, I
You
know
can
when I
add.
took mine, I had years of experience before I took my test, and I just walked in with a letter from my supervisor. I actually had my letter submitted before I took my test, so when my test came through, I
Already.
never had my A on
I
my
don't think I ever had
certification.
the A either. I mean, but I've been doing this long enough to drink and long enough to stop. So I guess
Right, exactly.
We didn't have
Exactly.
an A when I got mine, so yes. So
Well,
absolutely.
I know some of the roles, like if you are working in the admin side in a healthcare office or facility, you may be around it enough. You know what I mean? Like, so you don't have to be a coder
Exactly.
or auditor or whatever, but
Mhm.
you may touch it just enough. And really, it's between your employer just needs to vouch that you've had
Absolutely.
some experience. So don't
yes.
be too hard on yourself. I would say if you and your employer talk about it, and it's worth just sending that letter in to see if we feel like that is adequate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I know my personal experience at the time that I took my test, I was not coding daily. I was working more the denials and
Same.
validating the I-10 and the
Mhm.
CPT codes that were being submitted.
On
I wasn't
I-10 was out
actually
when you
coding.
started working,
What
Denny?
was that?
I-10 is out when you started working?
No, I was still I-9. I think I got my CPT, I got my CPC in 2004, I think.
2005. So we're right around the same time.
Yeah.
5 hours, 150 questions. That was brutal.
Yeah, it was. That was my first one. And I'd been around a long time before that too. I drug my feet before I actually took my test.
And
But yeah,
Same.
it
Yeah.
was,
I'm coding from the 90s here. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. 93.
Yep.
93. Yep.
Yeah,
Oh,
we've been
wow.
around a while, but
You
it was
just
one of
dated
those, I was like,
yourself.
why
You just
take
dated
it?
yourself.
was that ICD 5? ICD 6?
Oh,
Gone.
we can fight
Thanks.
Seven?
words. We can
hey,
Dang.
fight.
I was around for 9. I can
Okay.
claim that. 9 lasted a long time.
Yeah,
yes.
it did. And some people, Alaska is still using I-9. So,
Mm.
Oh wow, I had
Yeah.
no idea.
Yeah.
I
And
didn't either.
I also had no idea that to take the CPC exam in the past, this is many years ago, but Corella, you were saying that you had to have experience. That came first before you could even sit for the
Yeah,
exam. I
this
had
was
no idea.
before the birth of the apprentice credential.
yeah,
So you
just the
already
same.
have the experience already. Your employer, when you applied to take the exam, you had to have your employer write letters to even recommend you to take to be eligible to sit for the
Right.
exam to already attest that you already had 2 years of working experience working with CPT ICD 9 at the time and hit
Yeah.
pick.
Yep.
So
Hmm.
Yeah, I
I had
think
no
the A
idea.
was kind of a newer thing when Maya and I were sitting for it.
Yeah, it sure was. Yep.
Yeah.
And I had just finished the schooling. I had gone to a school and had sat for a brutal amount of time to get that certification. So that also helped because it was a certified program through AHIMA. So that didn't make a huge difference for when I took it, but I already had experience. I had been working with coding since 1993
yeah. And as you know, Alex and Dave, we have the new CPC ready. Um,
program. Yes.
Job ready.
yes, and so it's already job ready, the job ready CPC, which is a new program, fairly new in the last month or two that just recently came out. That once the person, of course, completes all of their schoolwork and education and pass that successfully, then go on and take their certification, get that successfully. They are then, if proficient, are then able to go to a AAPC approved externship site that's working in conjunction already with AAPC and complete their 160 hours at that point, and then automatically have be job ready at that point and have their CPC, a full-fledged CPC at that point. So I think that's a wonderful program. We're doing that for our VILT students that come through our VILT program. But we're also looking at people that didn't go through our VILT program, that people that maybe took it at a college or university, that did take the AAPC curriculum and get their CPCAs, and then are going on again to externship sites, where we are starting to look at validating more external externship sites, that if we know the externship has exposed the CPCA, the apprentice, to a number of factors dealing with coding, that once they complete their 160 hours, that will automatically release the A credential. So we're excited about that. We're also excited about, ladies have been helping me work on with an entire group, a NAB committee. We're also looking at an AAPC externship test, that once a CPCA finishes any externship, if they are able to pass the AAPC test, that will get their A removed. And so that is yet another thing that we're working on. So again, we're thinking outside the box,
Right.
of trying to get, these A removed, as that will definitely help newly certified get their foot in the door a little bit better. Because to be honest, we got to be real. There's some employers that will not employ CPCAs.
Yeah.
And so we already know that. And
Mhm.
so CPCAs can get employed very easily. And I love employers that take that step and employ a CPCA, because those employers already know that they have someone with foundational knowledge that they can mold
Exactly.
into
The
exactly.
CPCA any day over somebody who's been embedded in. We've always done it this way.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
exactly.
No.
Yep, those are my favorites. I'm like, give me the A's because I can work with it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's how I always love to see more and more employers go ahead and take the CPCAs. That's something that I definitely go out and promote, to hire CPCAs and mold them into the coders that your company wants.
Yeah.
But again, reality, I do also know reality that there's some employers that will not take CPCAs. And so we want to think outside the box, try to get that A removed to, again, help our newly certified people, our members, get those jobs. Because sometimes that's harder than getting the certification itself, is getting your foot in the door.
I wanted to add to that. I also wanted to make sure that coders, I mean, I wanted to reiterate, I should say, that when you're working as a CPCA and you have context of taking working with codes, right? Denials, that it's important that you realize that that is also relative to getting your A removed. And we have a saying, like Corella has already stated, that there is no job that's too small. But take the job. Don't say I'm above that. No, 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 no. We want to get you enrolled. We want to get you approved. We want to get you with the experience so that you can move forward. Everybody has a starting point, right? You had to come out of a birth canal to get in the world. So how are you going to be any different when moving forward, right? With coding. I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there. You had to come out of somebody's body in order to even walk. So think about it
I
that
was
way.
dropped by a stork, Maya. So I'm an outlier there. Hey, Dave, what
Just
do you
saying,
do?
I'm just putting that out there. Alex, I'm sorry.
No, Dave, what you and I have that same background, not having worked in the field, but work closely with coders. What perspective do you have as kind of an outsider?
Yeah, well, I definitely see the importance of making sure that people are job ready, right? That people, after they've taken an exam, they can prove that they're able to apply what they know. And so I'm impressed that throughout the years we've been so strict and our tests have been difficult, because really the organization is trying to create the best coders, the best people for the industry, because it not only is beneficial to you and your careers, but it also reflects back on us as an organization. So the A isn't a punishment, right? It's none of that. It really is just to make sure we get the very best coders out into the industry. And there's some things that we got to do to get ourselves to that point. Let's face it, we don't know a lot of things, right? Especially when we come out of school. So we got to just get some practice.
Absolutely. That CPC means something. You
It
work hard,
really does.
really
Mhm.
should be proud um, to display it. You know, I always cringe when I see people apply for stuff and you don't even put your CPCA up there or your CPC. That means something. It means something to your employer. You know, and
It should mean something to you because you passed the test.
absolutely, which
Yeah.
is a feat in itself. That could be another
Yeah.
whole trial. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, yeah,
About
absolutely.
3 weeks ago, 3 Mondays ago, I with Erica, who's our placement director at AAPC, we were on a broadcast with a gentleman from the judge group, and he's talking about hiring
I saw that.
CPCAs and that
I was on that.
process. And yeah, so it's awesome to see like they have clients, the judge group has clients that will hire CPCAs. Check out the judge group. In fact, on our social media channels, so a few months back now, someone had I shared this marked up page that someone had shared of all of the people and organizations that would hire a CPCA. Her page is packed full with different places. So if you went back through our social, like Instagram page, you'd find that. But it's not impossible. You just have to be open to all of the different avenues. I love Project Extern because it gets you that real world experience, putting you right in the office and being mentored or having a mentor to guide you through that. Corella, I'm curious about those who take the job ready path, the AAPC job ready path. If there is no Project Extern facility near them, how do we facilitate that part of the experience?
Well, luckily for us, the employers that have partnered with the AAPC specific for that job ready program offer remote work. So that is the kind of doorway, if you will, where the person doesn't necessarily have to be um, in that location physically, yet they are still getting that real work experience. They're still being mentored, and they can do all of this stuff via remote capability.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
so,
and I also think that there's an also even if you like maybe there's so many schools that are out there that are looking for teachers assistants, right? And if you're working with curriculum and you're teaching coding, I mean, Corella, you and I both know that and through the VILT program, there's teachers assistants that work directly with coding as far as the curriculum is concerned. That's also a venue that you can be taking. So, I mean, my advice to all of the CPCAs out there that are looking to expand, I think it's important for you to realize that there is no job too small and there is no limits to what you can do and what you can access in this regard. Teacher's assistant, working billing, pre-authorizations, insurance verification for specialty offices. All of this stuff comes into play. And having been involved with all of this over the years, it's just as important, if not important, as the coding that's being done itself. So don't limit yourself. Don't think that you're a failure because you're not getting that coding job. There is no such thing as a failure when you have a CPCA or a CPC because that's the win in itself.
and get involved with your local chapter. I always like to throw in the local chapter. As the local chapters, you can network. And sometimes, that old saying is not what you know, it's who you know. The networking through the local chapter, that could get you in the foot your door. Ask about apprenticeships in your local chapter. Ask about job opportunities for new coders. Ask about getting a mentor in your local chapter. Those are all things that can help you, again, get your foot in the door, get your foot in the industry, and again, on that road to getting that A removed, that apprenticeship removed. So I always throw in the local chapter.
I
That's
would even
always
start
a
in the I'm
Yeah,
sorry, Corella. I was
no,
going to say, I would even start in the classroom. People that you're in class with, virtually or in the classroom. I've seen people who actually work in the field who was looking to get people from the class
yeah,
to work in order to, and they were just in a higher position looking to get a certification. But you never know what type of, like you say, it's not always what you know, it's who you know. But if you're already in that field, network, have a study group, talk about your intentions, right? If people like you, they might give you a chance. But if you don't like people, then you got, another thing to work with. So,
Yep. Real quick, I am sharing a screen showing the Instagram post I was talking about. Dave, I passed it on to you. And it shows those who are willing to hire a CPCA. You could see all of the organizations there. And read in the comments too. You might see others who are not listed on the sheet that are mentioned in the comments. So that might be helpful. That just as an option for those who you know will hire CPCAs, and then but also taking these other paths that Corella, Maya, and Denny have spoken about.
no, I've hired CPCAs. I know Denny's hired CPCAs. I know Maya, we've all hired CPCAs. And
absolutely.
yeah, because absolutely, as an employer, we recognize how you can mold those. You have that foundational knowledge. You're not coming with any bad habits, and we
Right.
can mold you into, the industry or that job, cultural career. Um, more easily,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have the soft skills, right? The soft skills to be personable and to work, to show that you have the passion to learn, then the skill that you acquired when in school will translate to your CPCA and will translate into you getting that chance that you want. But practice your soft skills for the hard skills to get the job. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah. And there, when Alex was sharing his screen, there were some really great comments about some of the cross skills and, knowing the front desk skills, knowing the billing skills will transfer into some of that coding stuff too. Kind
Yeah.
of to Maya's point of the soft skills, but it goes beyond customer service. It goes beyond some of that other stuff. It crosses over so much. It makes you a better coder. So don't concentrate on just being a coder because it
Yeah.
goes so
Anything in the
far.
revenue cycle. We have a whole
Yes.
cycle that
That's
Mhm.
another social hour, really. The
Yeah,
revenue
It is.
cycle and
yeah,
the
yeah.
possibilities about how you can work that anything in the revenue cycle and how that translates to positions. Real
um,
talk.
We
Mhm.
often talk about how coders enter the field thinking, I'm going to be a coder, and then they see this buffet of
Man,
all of these different roads.
Yeah.
So,
it's a
but yeah, you're
world.
right, Maya.
It's a world.
That would definitely be a full hour discussion. We'll
It
have
yes,
to do that
does.
sometime.
It
yeah.
does. I know I get excited when I get a resume that's got all this other experience, and I'm like, that's the one I want.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah. The
exactly.
warm and fuzzies, like, oh.
Yep,
Yes.
exactly. So don't come
Well,
in narrow-minded, come in with a big breath of anything.
And you
Yeah.
know the big picture. You're not just a coder with the blinders
Right. Yep.
in the bill. You understand the big picture of how it started when the patient called and made the appointment.
Yep.
Right.
So,
Oh, absolutely. Soft
uh,
skills translates to opportunities. Opportunities translates to learning. Learning creates experience. Experience creates expertise.
that's like a shirt or a coffee cup or something.
absolutely.
Right.
Right.
I don't remember what I'm saying. What did I say? I'm just playing.
Hey, Dave,
I'm gonna make that
anything?
shirt. It's gonna
Yeah.
be so long. We'll include it on the back too. Yeah, I like
Dave,
it.
are there any comments that we need to hit from the chat?
We've had actually a lot of good interaction in the chat and people sharing a few things. Yeah, just saying that Amber Simon says networking is how she met all of you powerhouses. So get networking, get talking to people. Like Maya says, those soft skills will translate into any industry, this one
Mm-hmm.
or others. Just yeah, it's awesome.
Okay. Hey, what an amazing discussion. Thank you, Maya, Corella, Denny, once again for being with us. And I'm excited to see what we've got up our sleeves for the next topic for our new coders. So stick around if you're a student coder or a recently certified coder. You'll want to be with us in 2 weeks when we have another topic. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, Carla. Do you know?
It is. I don't remember what it is, but it's something that we're thinking outside the box for. That's for
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's the actual exam application insights,
Okay.
where we are looking for talking specifically about the application process
Right.
and utilizing all of the things that we kind of talked about today and kind of round that up. So if you are getting ready to apply to take and sit for your credential, to kind of give you the heads up, the tips you need already to prepare you just for that application process.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Dave, anything on your end that we need to touch before we log off?
No, I don't think so. This has been a fun one though. So thank
Yeah.
you.
And
Oh,
sorry,
I was gonna say, Maya, go for it. What do you have?
I don't have anything. I just have that, learn your soft skills. Your soft skills are going to translate to
Yeah.
any position that you want, especially when you're in school. I mean, and if you are not a people person, then don't try to be around people, but learn how to work. So that's just me though.
She's full of sound bites.
Yes.
On that note,
Don't be
we'll
around.
yeah. On that note, we'll log off. We'll see everybody in 2 weeks. Have a great week and great as we close out the summer. Great rest of the summer, everybody. Bye.
Ready? Bye.
Bye.
Bye.